Olá,
Cycle of the Beyond Cotton project. My name is Eliane Souza. I'm responsible for the nutrition initiatives at the Center of Excellence Against Hunger of the World Food Program in Brazil, and I'll be the mediator of this session. It's a great satisfaction to organize this virtual meeting that gathers experts, government representatives, and partners to discuss agriculture, which focuses on diversified production and food and nutrition security. This event honors with a partnership between the Brazilian Cooperation Agency and the Center of Excellence Against Hunger of WFP in Brazil and the Brazilian Cotton Institute. I seize the occasion to invite all of you who are watching this event to watch the previous webinars. If you haven't seen yet, they are very worth watching. So for this opening, this institutional opening session, we have here the representatives of our partners. I will call Rifat Iqbal, representing the General Coordination for South-South Trilateral Cooperations with International Organizations of the Brazilian Cooperation Agency. Rifat, you have the floor. Thank you, Eliane. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to thank you all for your presence in this third webinar, which is dedicated to agriculture focusing on nutrition. As a representative of the Brazilian Cooperation Agency of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, it's a great honor to participate in this dialogue. This series of meetings held in the months of July, August, and September aims to give visibility to the results achieved to the Beyond Cotton program, which was launched in 2017 and is composed of ABC, the Center of Excellence of WFP, and the Brazilian Cotton Institute. Cotton is the starting point of this project, but it goes way beyond fiber. This initiative strengthens family farming to value intercrops and to generate income for farmers, linking farming to local programs. We have three countries. Tanzania, we have already implemented this project with the University of Campina Grande. We had also a project with Mozambique with the support of the UFLA, Lavras Federal University, and the Benin project with the Federal University of the Western region of Bahia, UFOB. And this webinar is to agriculture and focus on nutrition. We will hear the valuable contribution of the Brazilian universities and the Ministry of Social Development, Family and Fight Against Hunger, MDS, who is also our partner in other initiatives in climate resilience, which is crucial to agriculture and nutrition. I would like to acknowledge the presence of IBA for financing this initiative and the Center of Excellence Against Hunger for their valuable partnership, and the Brazilian universities that share their technical knowledge with the partner countries. To the governments of Benin, Mozambique, and Tanzania, and WFP offices in this country, I acknowledge their partnership that has promoted advancements in sustainable agriculture and food security in the global south. I would like to highlight that in the innovation program, which is a partnership between MDS and WFP, we have Alimenta Lab, which is a lab for sustainable food and nutrition policies, and it has the purpose of identifying best practices and innovative experiences in the global south in four axes: climate and sustainable agriculture, urban policies, food environments, And I would like for you to share your and submit your experiences in Alimenta Labs. So to promote this exchange and to strengthen our cooperation ties. Thank you very much. Thank you, Rifat, for your kind words. I would like to motivate you to access Alimenta Lab to become familiar with this experience. So I'm going to pass the floor to Daniel Balaban, the director of the Center of Excellence Against Hunger and the representative of WFP in Brazil. Daniel, you have the floor. Thank you, Eliane. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to thank our dear partners who are crucial in this journey, the Brazilian Cotton Institute, IBA, the Brazilian Cooperation Agency, ABC, and the universities that are taking part, because it's extremely important to count on their participation. Without the support of these institutions, this project would not have reached all the advances that we are celebrating this day. It's a great honor to participate in this opening session and to dialogue about such a relevant topic, which is agriculture, which is sensitive to nutrition. This concept invites you to develop a focus beyond agriculture. Every seed needs to contribute to improve the nutrition and the quality of life of communities. This project, Beyond Cotton, was developed with this focus to support family farmers in countries like Benin, Tanzania, and Mozambique. We wanted not only to strengthen cotton production, which is important, but also to value the byproducts and to have intercrops such as maize, such as sorghum, such as beans. So this diversification was essential to generate new sources of income and to increase the availability of food for all the families and all the school feeding programs. The results show a concrete impact of this approach. Last week we had the event of the Global Coalition. We had delegations of these countries talking about the results of this project in our bilateral meetings. In Benin, the family farmers are providing food to school meals, linking local production to nutrition policies. In Mozambique, the school gardens, the community gardens, they are helping the population cope with climate change and improve the access to fresh and natural food. In Tanzania, even though we have concluded all activities, the farmers are still using the sustainable practices in their fields. So it's important to see how this project bear fruits and will continue to bear fruits. So, and this is the spirit of South-South cooperation, the exchange of knowledge, to learn jointly, to come up with solutions which are suitable for local contexts. So our Center of Excellence is extremely proud to facilitate this dialogue and show that family farming can be the engine of food security and of climate resilience and also of sustainable development. So I would like to wish all of you a very productive webinar that strengthen even more our commitment to transform food systems so that they are fair, equitable, and sensitive to nutrition. Thank you so much. Thank you, Daniel. So now I'm going to call Isabela Lima to conclude this opening ceremony. She's representing the Brazilian Cotton Institute. She's a project analyst. Isabela, you have the floor on behalf of IBA, and thank you for your participation. Hello, good morning, everyone. My name is Isabela. I'm representing the Brazilian Cotton Institute, and it's a great honor to participate in this webinar. We are partners of the Beyond Cotton project, and It's a pleasure to contribute. Thank you so much.
A gente que agradece, Isabela, a sua presença.
Thank you, Isabella, for your participation, and we continue to participate here with us. Rifat, Daniel, stay with us. We know that you have a very tight agenda, but we would really like to count on your participation. So in the first part, we will talk about sustainable school feeding systems, and I would like to invite Thais Fonseca from the Ministry of Social Development, Assistance, Family, and Fight Against Hunger, and she will talk about the Alimenta Cidade strategy and the climate for public policies. Is a technical analyst of social policies at the federal government. She has a master's degree at the Federal University of Rio de Janeiro, and she's an expert in promoting social and health development. She is a nurse by the Federal University of Minas Gerais. She's a family nurse. She used to be a family nurse at Belfort Roxo and also in the municipality. Much for accepting our invitation. Good morning to all of you. Thank you for the invitation on behalf of the Ministry of Social Development, Assistance and Fight Against Hunger. I will share my presentation.
Vocês conseguem ver?
You see my presentation?
Pode continuar.
Yes, move on.
Então, eu vou apresentar
So, I will share two strategies that have been prioritized by the Secretariat of Food and Nutrition Security, which is the Healthy and Sustainable Food Systems and Climate Resilience. To talk about food systems, we consider production, access, and consumption, and climate change have an impact on the food systems and the availability of water and the food production, and it compromises access to healthy food choices, an increase in social vulnerability, and an increase in the price of foods, and an increase in malnutrition. So we have used this relation between food systems and food insecurity to develop our policies. We have made some commitments, and I would like to highlight the Brazil Without Hunger program, which was launched in 2023, which aimed at removing Brazil from the world hunger map, and we reached this goal. Brazil is no longer in the world hunger map, and also to reduce malnutrition. And among the other commitments of the federal government, we have goals to cope with climate change. So the ministry has a strategic plan and a pluriannual plan. We have the engagement of proposing a framework for this. So the framework for food systems and climate has been developed by MDS. It's a partnership with the Observatory of the University of Brasilia and the Climate Institute. This framework has the main purpose of this framework is to contribute to the convergence and the coordination of public actions and policies for food and nutrition security, promoting the transition to healthy and sustainable food systems with the human rights to access to food. The premises are that the effects of the climate change are a reality. Food systems and climate change are interconnected. Climate change aggravates injustice and it accelerates poverty, increasing inequalities. and the social economic development is also affected by climate change. The purposes we follow are human rights through adequate food, food sovereignty, climate justice, social sustainability, environmental, economic, and cultural, systemic approach, climate federalism, and social participation. So these are the principles of the framework, and this framework is divided into principles and premises and paths. So the paths talk about governance and production and access to food. And you can become familiar in this framework. We have our Instagram, Sistemas Alimentares e Clima. So the Alimenta Cidades strategy is a food and nutrition strategy in cities, because we have many challenges. 80% of the households in Brazil are located in urban areas. Of the people in vulnerability, most of them live in cities in Brazil. Cities are also more impacted by climate change, especially those living in suburban areas or peri-urban areas. 61% of the adults in the capital cities in Brazil are overweight, and environment or obese-prone environments are located in the suburban areas of major cities in Brazil. So we want to increase the production and access and availability to healthy foods in these populations who are more vulnerable. We chose 60 priority towns with a population of 60 million people. We chose municipalities in the north, northeastern, and central regions of Brazil with over 300,000 inhabitants in all the capitals, and those in the municipalities that have a large part of the population in vulnerable situation. This strategy is implemented through actions that are promoted and supported by the federal government and innovative activities of the municipalities, taking into account the context of each municipality. So they have been developing strategies. Yesterday, we developed a guide with successful strategies that can be implemented by other municipalities that are taking part of this Cidades or not. And with these strategies, we implement and we disseminate many other initiatives of the federal government, such as the National Policy for Food Supply, the Solidaria Community Canteens or Kitchens Program, the National Program of Agriculture, the Climate Adaptation and Mitigation Plan, the promotion of healthy and adequate food in the school environments. So we have all these and the food acquisition program. So all these programs are promoted for these municipalities, for the 60 municipalities. And at the same time, with ESALC, we developed the mapping of food swamps, what we call deserts, food deserts. So this platform of the food deserts and swamps, the municipalities will be able to see, for example, in this image, poverty data. So the population in situation of poverty, population with low income and poverty. You can choose the state or the municipality. And in these hexagrams, sorry, you will have the prevalence of people facing poverty, and we can cross data with the food desert or the food swamps, we see that the deserts and swamps are more prevalent in poverty and extreme poverty municipalities. And with this, the city halls or the municipalities can detect the locations that need their support to ensure food and nutritional security.
Alimenta Cidade, this program counts on this platform. It's important to tell that there's a strategy by the Ministry of Social Development, but in partnership with the Ministry of Agrarian Development and Family Farming, MDA, and also the Ministry of Cities, MCED. And it is from this platform that we can get to know more about the strategy and see this panel on the municipalities, the food swamps and food deserts. Thank you very much. I'm at your disposal if you have any questions. Thank you very much, Thais. Thank you very much for being so concise, straightforward in our presentation, but it's above this. You were able to present these two strategies that the Secretariat for Food and Nutrition Security have been implementing, which have been implemented brilliantly. We were able to actually see today and yesterday the event that took place in Belo Horizonte. It was very exciting. I'd like to congratulate the Ministry and the Secretariat for Food and Nutrition Security on both strategies. Congratulations on this. It's very worthwhile for those people that are with us from other countries. It's very what the Brazilian government has been doing. Now I'd like to invite Mr. Dominique Neme. I hope I have pronounced your name correctly. And we are going to learn a bit about the experience in Benin. Mr. Dominique is from the Ministry of Agriculture with the government of Benin. He's going to be sharing with us purchases from family farmer school feeding programs. He's an agronomist with expertise in sciences and food sciences from the Faculty of Agronomic Science. He has more than 15-year experience in rural development, capacity building, rural economy, and has been working in the support to farmers' organization. He was the Director of Information, capacity build and support to agricultural organizations. Since 2022, he has been working as the head of the Technical Center for Monitoring and Support of Food Security Management within the Ministry of Agriculture, Livestock and Fisheries of Benin. Recently has been appointed as permanent secretary for the National Committee, Interstate Permanent Committee for Fight Against Drought in Sahel. Mr. Dominique, you have the floor. Thank you very much for taking time to be here with us and share the experience of Benin. You have the floor. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone, ladies and gentlemen. My presentation, well, I'm going to actually go straight to the point. My presentation is going to cover 7 different points, as you can see on the screen. And regarding the context, it's important to tell you the government of Benin has decided since 2017 to have an integrated national school feeding program to cover the country and known as PNASI. PNASI has national cover and it's aimed at strengthening family farming in Benin by developing a multi-sectoral approach and prioritize purchases at the local level. This program covers 80% of public primary schools, and it is structured around 3 elements. One of them dedicated to strengthening farmers, cooperatives, and the provision of local foodstuffs to school canteens. So in this new school year, the government has decided to transfer the program to the National Food and Nutrition Agency. This has to do with the agreements made by WFP and Benin to transfer the program to the government of Benin. So within the program, there's purchase of foodstuff, and there are three types of fruits stuff purchase, such as cereals, maize, rye, and a legume, which is a cowpea. Additionally, there is also salt and vegetable oil, which purchased at the local level. Regarding the local smallholder farmers, we purchased the first three products, the cereals from them. I have the map here, and the purchases are actually done via cooperatives that are scattered from north to south of the country, as you can see on the map. How has purchases been done in terms of including smallholder farmers in the process? So at Benin, we have this World Sampling done, recognized by FAO and WFP. The WFP and the Ministry of Agriculture in 2010 decided to launch a strategy whereby purchases would be made from family farmers, smallholder farmers, and there would be a competition process in which quotas would be assigned to the cooperatives. So a call for tenders would be launched, and not if it would be open, not everyone would have access to this market, but we would have actually a account dedicated to the cooperatives. So what are the criteria to participate in the program when it comes to smallholder farmers? Smallholder farmers need to be organized as small agricultural organization and be legally registered with the government. The organization needs to have a product to be sold to the program, and the farmers need to have products to sell, and also have participation of women in the process. This, taps into gender perspective. And we have in the center smallholder farmers, and around there you have the structures that gravitate around the smaller farmers that participate in this mechanism. And blue, we have the institutions, the public sector, the Ministry of Agriculture, and the National Food and Nutrition Agency. These are the structures that work to facilitate the work done with the smallholder farmers to ensure that the purchases are done properly. And then you have the World Bank, UN agencies, just like UNICEF and WFP. In green, we have civil society institutions, which are basically formed by farmers associations. We have at these institutions at the municipal level, the department level, and also organization of cooperatives. We also have in red the industry and banks, rice processing factories or plants and decentralized processes that take part in this. How do you carry out this process so that we can ensure that purchases are made from smallholder farmers? First of all, we need to identify potential farmers cooperative. This is done by the Ministry of Agriculture via its decentralized structures, and these structures go visit farmers to they comply or not with the criteria set. Afterwards, when the ministry prepares a short list of those farmers and sent to ANAN, which was previously done by the PAM, and then we have potential farmers associations and cooperatives that could participate in the process, and then you have a short list prepared, and we have the publication of the calls for tenders, and then you have the proposition of tenders, technical, financial tenders, so that we can actually have the process going on. Once the tenders are submitted and people get registered with us, our quality control team will be sent to the cooperatives to collect samples to be sent to laboratory for analysis. And when we get the result from the analysis, we are going to check whether the foodstuff are of good quality. And now only after that, we are in a position to enter into contract with them to retrieve these foodstuffs from farmers, associations, and cooperatives, warehouses, and then we these foodstuffs are delivered to us and then stored for use in the school feeding program with the containers provided by the agency. And after the delivery by the trucks, the cooperatives can submit the invoice to the agency, which will be responsible for paying for the services provided by the suppliers. And then we are going to store the foodstuff purchase and deliver these products to schools for the preparation of meals. So this is how our process works. And throughout this process, the Ministry of Agriculture, when the cooperatives get selected, there is the training capacity building of farmers concerning some thematic areas, and we then Ministry was responsible for launching this program with farmers. You can see on the pictures on the right-hand side that we had some activities with the support from the Federal University of Western Bahia, delivered training courses on agroecology, and all the capacity building added up to improving the quality of the products provided and also the services by these cooperatives. We have some key results. We have 300 tons on maize in 2021, 2023, more than 7,000 tons, rice 2021 0 and 2023 85 tons. Cowpeas we got to almost 460 tons purchased from a smallholder farmers cooperative. We had a progress in terms of the amount purchased from this cooperative of smallholder farmers. The current challenges, of course, price is one, because the cooperative societies do not actually use the prices that we want to have on the market. So there are some deviations. There's only one place that purchases all these the commodities, especially regard to the cowpea. So the perspective, we want to diversify the purchase of foodstuffs and include other items such as vegetable protein, and we also have an initiative in place today. A student would have one type of protein a week. We need to improve on this. Of course, we need to also improve the storage facilities in place so that we can improve the work provided by the laboratories. I would like to share with you the prediction of some food items that are actually used in our local purchase program. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Dominic. It's very important and very exciting, stimulating to see and have a look at this in school feeding programs that are done in an integrated way that you have been implementing. I'd like to congratulate the government of Benin on this very good work in this school feeding program. It's also a reason to be pride on all the other partners here, the university activities regarding Benin, the University of Western Bahia. We're going to have Professor Deborah speaking later on, and IBA, ABC. We from the Center of Excellence, we pride ourselves on being part of this work under the Beyond Cotton project. Thank you so much, Mr. Dominic, for your account. And to okay, Mr. Dominic concluded the speak delivered by government representatives and MNDS, the government of Brazil, and now Minister of Agriculture, the government of Benin. And now we are going to build allowing the universities to have the floor. I first of all like to talk to Professor Deborah, who's been working with us within the Cotton project, which actually has an interface with Benin, our project there. Professor Deborah Perstein is a nutritionist and graduated from the Federal University of Bahia. She has a master's degree in food, nutrition, and health, also from the University of Bahia. And she also has activities in the Unified Health System in Brazil, and now she's a professor with the Federal University of Western Bahia in the nutrition major, and she's been delivering courses in anthropology of nutrition and nutritional practices. She's also part of the Study and Research Center of Food and Culture of the university, and she has coordinated the study and research group on eating habits, nutrition, and health. Also coordinated work on nutrition under the Pets Health Program. She was coordinated of nutrition of UFOB, and today she is coordinator for the extension outreach nutrition course, and she also coordinates nutritional and eating habits focused on ancestral practices. Professor Deborah Persino, you have the floor. Thank you very much for taking your time to being with us.
Bom dia a todas as pessoas.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Por favor, Eliane, você pode me confirmar
Please,
se a minha
Eliane,
apresentação já está em tela?
Can you tell me if my presentation is on screen? Okay, it is. Please go on it. Everything looks great. Good morning, everyone. I'm really glad for the invitation, and I'm going to use my time here today to share a bit about the experience I had in Benin under this project. So as I was asked, I'm going to be covering some aspects related to food and nutritional education within the scope of the Beyond Cotton project, focusing on Benin. I'm Deborah Persino, nutritionist, and also professor with the Federal University of Western Bahia. The main purpose of this project, Beyond the Cotton project, which covers different areas, the most important objective is to improve food and nutrition security condition of school children. And how can we improve the food and nutrition security of them? Well, the project is divided actually on three major pillars. First one is about developing optimizing techniques regarding cultivation and sowing of food crops, coordinated by another professor here with us at UFOB, and also the activities shown to us by Professor Dominic Benin, and also to strengthen purchase of homegrown items to be used in school feeding programs. So it's also necessary to have a institutional system in place to ensure that this purchase system will improve the economic condition of these farmers locally and also the food provided to school children. And what is my field of work is to develop methodologies related to food and nutrition security with the school cooks and also school children, and which are the ones who are going to consume these meals. What is the role of food and nutrition education within the scope of the spending the project with me? First thing is acknowledge the worth of locally produced food stuff. The idea is not to bring food from other areas, but it's all actually about using the food produced locally, and also actually use traditional recipes. We need energy to be alive. We need proteins, minerals, vitamins. But the meals, the food's more than this. If food were to be just nutrients, if food would be just a medication. But as our food, our meals represent our traditions, our culture, and the it's not a storehouse for food. A school is an environment where people become citizens, learn things, and food is also part of this process of building the capacity of people. The activities that were performed with the school in Benin and the last mission carried out, which took place in October 2023, part related to the school cooks and part with the school children. Regarding the school cooks, well, we had the idea of coming up with 3 different menus to be used in the schools. We had, for example, the real menu, day-to-day use, what we provide to children. The ideal menu, actually, it's about the ideal world in terms of food to be provided in school. And as ideal means, we have idealization and you have barriers to that. Of course, you cannot implement everything we think of. And what we have possible menu, how can we improve on the real menu, having in mind the ideal menu?
Each one of these menus, we divided them in 3 groups. We have studied the nutritional value of the meals, so the content, the fat, and the minerals content, which are important for the body functions, the presence or availability of fruits or not. We talk about protein, they are extremely important, but fruits, vegetables, and fresh food items also regulate all body functions. So the availability or the presence of fruits in the menu. We also talked about the food items that represent the local food culture, their own dishes, the way that they prepare the food, the hygiene and sanitary way, so the quality of the water, if it's possible to clean the foods to prevent contamination, food contamination. Also, the place or the location where food is prepared. Is there a kitchen? What equipment is necessary? What is the space that the children can sit and eat their food? Is there a space where they can gather and share this meal? So the results of these activities came up in the Benin Food Guide. We based on the Brazilian Food Guide, and we think that the schools need to offer a diversified food, including fruits, vegetables, and protein sources. And we can see that it's diversified by the colors of the dish, because we see different nutrition sources that can improve the health of these children. So these pictures were with the school cooks talking about the real menu, the ideal menu, and the possible menu. They are sitting here in groups. This is myself. I was collaborating with the interpreter that was accompanying us. His name is Lucas. So we discussed with the cooks about the possible menus. And in this table, we had some utensils, kitchen utensils that they used on a daily basis, and some portions of the food they used in the meals. We did not cook the meals because our purpose there was just to map the recipes. So they told us about this lady is a cook that told us was Nyampile, which is she used the kitchen utensil to show us how to prepare. So they interacted and they showed us different ways of grinding the food. So we decided to come up with a contest between these women to they don't have any financial sources, so we can add up to their traditional knowledge. So I shared some recipes from Brazil, especially acarajé, which is very significant of the state of Bahia, where I reside, which was first created in Benin, but it changed, the recipe changed when it was transferred to Brazil. And they showed a traditional recipe, so there was a cultural exchange of recipes. With the children, we had Mr. Seed, which was a drawing. So we had portions of seeds that are used in school feeding, and the children would give a name for this doll. They baptize a doll. And life perspectives for Mr. Seed. What does he need to eat to reach adulthood? And which foods he used to celebrate each stage of life. So we wanted to strengthen their perspective of future so the children could understand that they can grow up and have a job, because Mr. Seed had a job. He was a police officer or a teacher, a cook, a musician, a driver. So Mr. Seed could have a wide array of jobs to discuss food groups, fruits, vegetables, animal protein sources such as poultry, beef, milk, eggs. We could also think of all these groups are extremely important for a healthy meal, and to also worship local traditional recipes and the sacred role of food in celebration. So these are the drawings, and this is the material that the children use, portions of small samples of food stuff used in school meals. And in the picture, you have the human body that was used in school. So the children started to draw in groups, and it was very positive because they collaborated with each other. The children were the protagonists. They to talk about what they already know in terms of nutrition and what they still need to know, and the role of food, not only that role of bringing nutrition to their bodies. And so there was a storytelling activity, so to speak. And then they decided what was the doll, the kind of important foods for this Mr. Seed, for him to grow healthy. And they told the story of Mr. Seed. This is Dado, this is Tony. In this group, Dado had a boy, so they said what Dado needed to be a good father for his boy. We had Fidelita with yam, poisson, and fish. So they would draw. So they put all the meals that didn't have, what can you remember? It's fish, yam, beef, pineapple, water. And this is the women's group. When we finish the activity, we systematize them, showing us how we could improve their work. These are the children. We gathered with them after the activity. We took this picture and we concluded with a celebration, because food and nutrition security is also a moment to celebrate. So the children bid me farewell with this activity that I didn't know.
É uma atividade que a gente se comunica mesmo sem usar
So they communicate even without saying any words, and although we have different cultures, different languages, but we can communicate. All this material is based on a document that we have in Brazil, which is the reference framework for nutritional and food education public policies. and it's available in the websites of the Brazilian government. And it shows how food and nutrition education is present in public policies, including the National School Feeding Program. Brazil's National School Feeding Program includes the kitchen itself, the infrastructure, the menu, the development of menu by nutritionists, the cooks, the preparation of food, but also food and nutrition education. Food is not just a source of nutrient, not just a source of to treat and prevent diseases. Food includes environmental sustainability, like our colleague mentioned when we discussed the content of food swamps or food deserts, to worship local food and the local food systems. Mr. Dominic mentioned about the planting and the animal breeding, to think of what kind of foods are available, and the recipes and self-care and autonomy of those who eat food, the active participation. Food and nutrition education is not just a nutritionist giving a lecture and taking a notebook, it's an active participation of all the stakeholders. And I will conclude with a sentence of Paulo Freire, which is the patron of education in Brazil. And it talks about education and says education alone cannot transform a society, but without education, society does not change either. So education is the major step to achieve development. So thank you so much. This is my email, deborah.porcino@ufob.edu.br. This is my phone number. And I thank you all for your attention. Have a very good day. Thank you, Professor Deborah. Thank you for your explanation. This project for us, the Beyond Cotton project, is of major importance, and to provide small farmers their children study in those schools. So to work food and nutrition education is amazing. I will not take long, so I will just call Professor Vanille Pessoa. She's from the Federal University of Campina Grande. She's a nutritionist. She has a PhD in food nutrition by the Federal University of Paraíba. She's an expert in obesity. She's a professor at the Federal University of Campina Grande since 2010 in collective health. She is also a researcher at the group of collective health. She's also part of the board of the Brazilian Board of Nutrition, and she's a counselor at the Paraíba State Council on Food and Nutrition, and she's also participating in the Beyond Cotton project in Tanzania. Professor Vanille, you have the floor. It'd be great to hear your experience with Beyond Cotton in Tanzania. You have the floor. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to be here. Can you hear me well? Like Eliane mentioned, I am a professor at the Federal University of Campina Grande, Campus Cuité. It's a city of 19,000 inhabitants in the semi-arid region of Paraíba State. And this environment was very important for our activities and also for the activities developed with Tanzania. So I'll talk to you about food and nutrition education in the project we developed there. Professor Deborah already developed the concept, so I will just show you the pictures. So the Beyond Cotton, like I mentioned, is located in 3 countries. I participated in the one in Tanzania, in this the Western Africa part, and in Tanzania We went to Dodoma, the new capital, and we also went to Dar es Salaam, and we headed to Mwanza, where the project was developed. In Mwanza, we developed activities in 3 districts, Maru, Misumo, and Quimba. So when we talk about Tanzania, talking about 3 districts where we worked and implemented our activities. I was very happy to hear Daniel talking about the results of all this time and that the implementations is still bearing fruit. So when we started thinking about this project in Tanzania, the Beyond Cotton, we started with virtual meetings, and right after the COVID pandemics came, so our idea to go there had to be changed. So we planned everything online, and that's why I'm sharing this with you, because we were thinking of what we could do in Tanzania. So this is the team of UFCG, me, Professor Alfredina Ilderlânio, from the Pombal campus, and then we went there to implement. But once we get there, and we went 5 times to Tanzania, we learned with Frei Beto, our head things where our feet walks. So we need to go to a place to see what it's really like. So the main concepts we are going to develop, Daniel already told, which is the agriculture sensitive to nutrition. Deborah has showed where we in Brazil we go to our framework of food and nutrition, and this framework has a broad concept, and it's important that here in Brazil, every time we talk about food and nutrition security, we are talking about 2 specific contexts. One, it's the human right to adequate and healthy food, and ensuring food and nutrition education. So every time we talk about food and nutrition education, we have these 2 contexts, and this is valid for any situation in Brazil or anywhere in the world. So we had this concept, and we went to Tanzania to find out how we could contribute. So immediately, what we noticed is that, oh my God, it's very difficult to communicate in a very different language. We went to Tanzania, and the main dialect is Swahili. There were other dialects, other communications, and this made it very difficult. So sometimes I spoke in Portuguese that was translated to English and then to Swahili. So the first lesson I learned in Tanzania is that communication, what I learned in popular education, was extremely important. So it's more than words. It's much more than a language. It's souls that share. And I learned a lot in Tanzania, and I'm very thankful for having this opportunity. So these pictures are of the first meetings. I met many women that were separated during the moment of discussion, so I joined these women and I started talking to them with the translation of the local nutritionist, and we noticed how important it was to establish bonds and ties, because we cannot have a learning experience without having this bond or this relationship with individuals. So we went to observe how they would prepare food. And in these 3 districts, we a survey of nutrition, the nutritional status, so to see what we could identify with children and adults, to have an idea of what we could find, or the clinical data, what the clinical findings of that population. We saw many things. I saw pots of bito, which is something that I had only seen in books. And so this facilitates our discussions on nutrition. So food and nutrition education targeted on the needs and specificities of that community. So we noticed right away that there was food waste, or especially the discharge of parts of, for example, tomato peels that they were not. So it was extremely important to exchange with those women. I learned a lot.
And they would serve of meals on the ground. And when I saw this whole meal being produced, and there was no ultra-processed food involved, is it me who's going to be here to teach, or will they teach me something? I would actually not know if I would be able to prepare a meal for so many people without using ultra-processed food items. And then the food pyramid at there, we understood that in Brazil they did not serve the concepts. But when it got there, how am I going to be talking about those processed food items if they do not have access to that? So the whole food and nutrition education idea would follow another context, because I was actually in another context. It's also part of food and nutrition education process. Here I have a collection of photos of all the visits and all methodologies we can use to establish a dialogue. So we had meetings in classrooms with the children and adults, mainly with adults, farmers, both women and men. We had also meetings under trees. There were times that I do not have a lot of time on my hands, but I'm going to get to the end. But there was a time there, you talked about Paulo Freire. It looked to me as though Paulo Freire was around under the moment under trees. We had a real learning process going on there. So we have these pictures of people taking notes in their notebooks. They understood and they would try to jot down what made sense to them in their notebooks. Education only happens when things make sense to people. And in Tanzania, when we got to the three communities, we understood that we cannot actually talk about food and nutrition and education if people don't have access to water. And the whole process was reorganized around this planning budget, so that we could have this to tackle each of this problem, which was about building cisterns. We had Orlando, who's has a postdoctoral studies in agronomy, and 6 years ago he was a bricklayer, and he had a lot of experience in relation to building cisterns. And when we saw that this be a need to have cisterns in place, and our professor from our university was there and said, I know how to do it, I'm going to teach them how to do it. And whatever we did in terms of building of cisterns and the use of this word is a very big takeaway. It's something for life. So we had 6 cisterns built in each one of the communities near schools, so that school children not have to go long distance to collect water, and also increase their time in schools, and also to deliver a better quality water, and also the rainfall pattern is very similar to what we have here in northeast of Brazil. And then you had water quality analysis professor Alfred have the laboratory there, and to actually learn how to analyze water for its quality. And now I'm going to receive my presentation. Another food and nutrition education strategy, what's very important, was actually about building stoves, firewood stoves, and they were built in schools. They are for public use, and the firewood stove reduced a lot of deforestation, because now we have concentrated fire. Imagine, for example, cooking a pan full of maize in an open fire. Imagine the amount of firewood necessary for that. And we had some training courses on how to use underground dams, and have this built near schools, and also something to think about later on. I dream of going back there once again to talk about school fitting in a place where this is not there. So there is no such thing as the program I have in Brazil regarding school fitting there, and something that really got to me, it's stuck. Sometimes we think about many recipes, but how can we actually make a recipe without having like power, without having a blender or any other appliance, and many things that we have been using in our country, and people would actually make do with what they have without power. And for example, to prepare a cake in a wood fire, sorry, a firewood stove, we were able to come up with a carrot cake and prepare it on this firewood stove. And I heard people saying that they would have a carrot cake once a year when they went to town. And then they said, okay, this dough was not good for a cake, and they prepared a cookie out of this dough. And they prepared recipes with me, recipes they would not actually dream of making. In Tanzania, actually, the food nutrition actions in Tanzania were always connected with this establishment of bonds, with context analysis, what we could do, what could improve the lives of people through knowledge on food and nutrition. Here, you have this Tanzania gentleman. I saw that I had this word utopia on my arm, and he would look at it, and I did not know what he was actually doing. He was actually writing this word on his forearm, just like I had it on my forearm, and I was trying to tell him what utopia was, and utopia was exactly that, what he did, and he was so much in connection with those. So here I'm very thankful to work with Alfredina and Uderlandio, and also had the presence of Joelcio, a person whom I worked closely with and shared a lot of his knowledge with us. And I would like to talk about Mama Woody. She taught me so much about food and nutrition, education, so much about nutrition, so much about life. I will never ever forget Mama Woody. She actually learned what she didn't know, and she would be so willing to share what she knew. So food and nutrition education is based on this principle. It's not know it all. It's not about exchanging one thing for another. It's about putting everything together and sharing. Educate, nutrition is dependent on agriculture. Agriculture is dependent on nutrition. Here we have the project report that's available on internet. I'm not going to delve into the data, but this data made us really glad. And Mama Woody talked about the cake. Cake be something for special times because we need to have money to go to town and buy cake. But I learned how to make cake using the firewood stove, and I myself can prepare it at home. Here have my contact information. I'm so thankful for the opportunity of sharing with you what we did there in these 11 minutes that were allotted to my presentation. Thank you very much, Dr. Vanilla. Thank you very much, Professor Deborah, for being valuable partners in this project. They also represent other professors from their university that work with Professor Mario, with Deborah, Professor Vanilla mentioned the other professors. So we are very thankful to each and every one of you, Professor. Before we close this webinar, we're about to close it. We do not have enough time for exchanging information, but in case you have questions, please send them to Ana.Freitas anna.freitas@wfp.org to organize the questions and forward them to the speakers, and then we'll have the chance to answer to each one of your questions whenever we can. Since this video has been recorded, it's going to be available on WFP channel on YouTube, and you can have access to it at any time. And at any time, you can send us your information to anna.freitas@wfp.org. So Dr. Vanilla mentioned Mr. Welson Carvalho, who coordinated for some time the Beyond Carbon project. Since this is the last webinar, I would actually pay homage to the people that were behind it all. So as Albanei the patient, the one that designed this project alongside with Ms. Cecilia Malaguti from the Brazilian Cooperation Agency, represented here by Rifat Akbal. I would like to mention these very important three people that put the Beyond Carbon project in work and practice, and we could see that from the accounts that were shared with us. And also the partnership with the Brazilian government, the government of Berlin, and also Tanzania and Mozambique. Mozambique has participated before with us in the previous webinar. We are very thankful to each and every one of all the partners. I would like to invite once again you to watch the other webinars, Experience in Mozambique, and also the Federal University of Lavras, which is also a partner of ours in this project. The experiences they had there, Professor Mario, who talked to us the first webinar. So there is a lot of opportunities to learn while you watch these webinars. I'd like to thank from the bottom of my heart each and every one of you here, the speakers, the representatives of the institutions from ABC, IBA, one of the interpreters, Leticia, Mohammed, Marcos, Paulo. Thank you so much for the support. All the teams involved from ABC, from IBA, from the Center of Excellence. Thank you so much. This is the third webinar within the cycle of Beyond Cotton project. So see you later. Thank you so very much.